Today we're joined by Murgel. Leo is the Vice President, Chief Operating Officer of Legal and Corporate Affairs at Salesforce. Leo, thank you for taking time to talk to us today.
Well, thank you for having me today. I look forward to this event. I've been a fan and a member of CLOC since throughout my stint in the legal operations, and it's great to be here with you guys.
Yeah, we're super happy to have you, and you have a wealth of experience in your background. And I just kind of want to touch on that. So you've had a lot of different roles and different opportunities at different companies. How did you first get into legal operations? Everyone has a different journey. Where did yours begin, and how did you first step into that role?
Yeah, it's a great question, Kevin. My journey really started more so from the operations side than necessarily from the legal side. My background is primarily in technology. I was the head of the project management office in the Salesforce IT team for some years. And from there, jumped into a more operational role, leading the M&A integration on the technology side. I was still with Salesforce. So really just looking at the technology side, but the operations of those companies that we acquired. And we did some 20-25 integrations at that time, acquisitions. And really so got more and more of a taste on how process and technology can really transform how the business functions within a department. And in talking to the team internally with Salesforce, our legal and corporate affairs team was really at the point where they recognized the need to do things differently and the opportunity to transform from within. And they were looking to staff up this role and build up a team in this space. So this was a great opportunity for me. The team has been amazing. It's been a great opportunity for me to learn more about the legal and corporate affairs side of the business, and also bring the sort of process and technology and really operational optimization side to bear.
Yeah, and it's, I just kind of want to harp on your technology background a little bit. I know that there's been a lot of challenges that have come over the past 6 months with everybody, because of COVID and a lot of people going virtual. How has that transition been for you? Have you found that to be one of the biggest challenges in your role because of this massive change? Or was there other, examples in your past you've had a bigger issue and this isn't quite the challenge that, others have been?
Yeah, I think it's interesting both within legal operations at Salesforce, peers that I spoke with, and as well as our clients. What this pandemic has shown us is it really an acceleration of the imperative of digital transformation. A lot of the work we have done in Salesforce Legal, and also I know a lot of my peers have done in other companies, is really helping drive that digital transformation of legal within their groups. And what the pandemic really brought to bear is that those that were already in that journey had the opportunity to accelerate because it became imperative for you to be able to work from anywhere. And those who weren't on that journey, that really quickly came to top of mind. So we're glad to have been on that journey already, so that in a way just brought some acceleration to the journey we've been in to help transform the legal and corporate affairs team into the next phase of it, really digitally transform, look at the business and see how we can do the things differently.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, and that kind of leads to our next question. I'm wondering, where do you see the trajectory of legal ops heading in the future? Are we going to see, maybe more businesses adopting this type of role? I know right now it's still kind of new, but could we see, due to the potentially more virtual workplace, could that, help or harm the growth of the legal ops industry?
Yeah, I think the legal ops team is here to stay, and I say that not necessarily just through the lens of legal, but if you look through other functions, HR, finance, in our case, product sales, every one of those teams is recognizing that one of the competencies they need to have within their leadership team is the operational muscle, right? So at Salesforce, for example, I have a peer group of COOs of various divisions that really look after in a very similar charter on how to best drive the operations of their teams. And we work together collaborative to make sure that what we're building is building a cohesive vision across Salesforce. But I think in that sense, in some ways, legal is kind of late to the party. Other groups have been building that muscle over time, and legal, as a significant, often significant cost in the organization, needs to, and there's an opportunity to do better in that space. So I don't think it's a fading thing. And as a matter of fact, I think it's just more about normalizing how we do operations within legal to how operations gets done outside of legal within the other groups of the company.
Yeah, I think you're on something there with operations as a whole being crucially important to all business functions. But again, just staying close to the CLOC frame here, I just want to kind of transition a little bit to, you and your involvement with CLOC. How did you originally join CLOC? Why did you join at the time? When was that?
Yeah, I was literally day 2 on the job. It might have been day 1. Don't remember. But really, if you think about some of the core principles of sound operations, you look to who's doing the work, how they're doing the work, opportunities to deflect the work, etc. But every area has nuance because the work is different and the work of legal is very unique. So I gravitated to the wheel and the 12 competencies of CLOC right away as a guide for me to think through what are the areas, what Salesforce was across that space, and what are the areas of opportunities. So that was really from day 1, and really we built our strategies on top of that. And I always keep on coming back to that basic framework of the competencies because it just reminds you there's more we can do for the business. If you think broadly that the charter of an operations team in legal otherwise is really to drive efficiency to the business, right? So in some ways, those 12 competencies are a good summary of the 12 levers, the 12 doors that you have to use to continue to drive efficiency. So as we progress and make advances in one area versus another, it really creates and opens the door for us to maybe explore and make advances in a second area.
Yeah, and with CLOC, there seems to be a lot of engagement and opportunities to, meet with your peers and discuss, new opportunities. I'm wondering, what would you, say to your fellow CLOC members? Why is it important for them to develop the legal operations role and profession? Like, why is it important for them to make an impact and within their organization as well as within their communities that, show that this is a role that's important?
Yeah, I think there's it's 2 parts to the answer to that question, right? So within their organizations, and particularly at this time, there's often minimally a desire, often an imperative, and sometimes even a mandate that the legal team becomes more efficient, right? You get more widgets out with less resources. So that's really defines the role and the importance of the legal operations team within the legal department. He or she is that right hand to the general counsel to deliver on that charter, right? Typically, the practice leads who have expertise in privacy, IP, employment legal, and so forth really haven't been necessarily trained, or oftentimes don't really have that as a main objective to become necessarily efficient, right? They're really just about defending the company, doing what's right, and so forth. So it's really a complementary skill and really the one that delivers to the general counsel on that mission of becoming more efficient. Now, the question to CLOC is separate because, what you don't have to do is to reinvent the wheel every time you're going to do it. Turns out legal departments are quite the same. And we all face very similar challenges. And there's a bunch of people that have tried different things. Some worked, some didn't work. So the opportunity to leverage the CLOC network to figure out who has done what experience they had, really just a tremendous accelerator to this. It's unique. And I got to tell you, I've been in various areas and was in M&A, project management for many, many years. And I haven't encountered truly a community of practice that are more willing to share to the benefit of each other. And it is just a tremendous, I think it's very unique to this space and a tremendous advantage. So I really encourage everybody that they're thinking through their journey, just leverage the CLOC. Ultimately, the CLOC is just a network to be there of resources and peers to help test out who has done what and how can I accelerate my own personal journey towards that, both as a company as well, and then oftentimes professional, individually as you grow yourself as a professional.
Yeah, and you mentioned, and as I speak to other CLOC members, everyone, when you ask, what do you like about CLOC, it's always a very similar response in that they feel like there's a community that they can lean on always, and it could be someone they've never spoken with before. It could be, someone that they worked with 20 years ago that they happen to run into. What other things other than the networking itself do you find beneficial about being a part of CLOC, and why, other than the networking, why should people join CLOC who are not currently members?
Yeah, I think so without overstating the networking, I think it's imperative and an amazing feat of CLOC today. And there's a wealth of resources that are available to CLOC members, and like I said, even just the fundamentals of the 12 competencies and the material behind it, I've used literally a day two on my role. So a great asset for you to build a strategy and get going in legal operations. And I think there's one component that Mary and team are taking CLOC to, which I think is really game changing, which is the notion of bringing to the table the law firms, right? So a significant amount of legal spend is still with outside counsel. Legal ops has been something that's been really driven from within corporate legal departments, looking at their efficiency. You can't look at that efficiency without looking at how you're spending your outside counsel dollars. And the idea of now, through CLOC, building a bridge to have a dialogue with our law firms and partners in that space. Ultimately, we're all working towards the same goal. And I think having the law firms on the table is just yet another component that CLOC really just brings value to the table, is by just really creating the forums that now not only peers can communicate and collaborate, but also you can have a constructive conversation and a really focused conversation with the right partners in the law firm side.
Yeah, that's great. And the CLOC prides itself on growing and making and offering more and expanding. And I want to be clear that there's always new opportunities within CLOC, and it's obviously, I'm sure you're aware that it's not the same organization it was 2 years ago, right? It's much more vast, much more opportunity. So I'd like to thank you very much, Leo, for taking the time today to provide your insight and experience with the CLOC.
Well, thank you, Kevin. It's been a pleasure. Always look forward to support and partner with CLOC and and support the community in general.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I also appreciate everyone watching at home and encourage you all to like this video and subscribe to the CLOC channel. We plan to start putting out even more content throughout the rest of 2020.
Thank you very much.